Come with me today to three different local mom and pop shops that sell video games, starting off with the Gaming Horde. Right when you open the door, you are hit with a wall of consoles, which is absolutely amazing. And then if you turn around, there's a bunch of games here as well. Obviously, there's a ton of video games in this store, and it's absolutely awesome. If you don't know what you're looking for here, you can definitely find something, but they pretty much have a bunch of everything. Here you could see a bunch of Sega stuff in this glass case. Then this little Pikachu 3DS holder, which is awesome. This case right here had a ton of sealed Nintendo Switch games at some really good prices, which we'll talk about in a bit. Right next to that was some awesome PS2 games, which I ended up grabbing one specific one. If you can't figure out which one it is, you will in a few seconds. But then there's some Super Nintendo games, NES games, a ton of PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 games, Xbox 360, Xbox games on the back over there. Then in this glass case, there was Nintendo 64 games, and then more of your cartridge-based games right here. But this store has a ton of stuff, so every time I show up here, I definitely spend a bunch of time looking around. And these glass cases have some amazing, crazy finds in them that are complete and absolutely just some wild stuff. And back on the back wall is their GameCube and then some Game Boy games. But honestly, this ended up being a really good stop, and I actually ended up finding quite a bit of things that were definitely well worth it. So let's just talk about everything I ended up grabbing and talk about their prices, because their prices here are really, really good. Now, first off, I did get this Detective Pikachu Gibbet for Crocs for $1. I figured I saw this and just wanted to grab it. Why not? And then I got some games here. I got two Switch games at really good prices considering these are brand new. This is Cat Lateral Damage Remeowstered. $33.99 for this game, brand new. When I saw that price, I knew I had to get it. I've been wanting to get this game just because it looks so ridiculous. And I think my wife will like it as well. So we'll both have to try this out and see if it's worth picking up. As well as I grabbed Dave the Diver Anniversary Edition. And this was $38.99 complete and new. Both of these games are brand new and sealed. These prices were really cheap, and I definitely thought they were awesome, which is why I grabbed them for that. But then I ended up finding a Dark Cloud 2 complete in the box for $28, which is a good deal as well. I have this, but it's just the loose disc. So when I saw it for 28 bucks, I figured I've got to pick that up. This game is awesome, and the artwork for this thing is just crazy. And then last but not least is a GameCube game I've never actually heard of before, but for 30 bucks, I figured I'd pick up Mystic Heroes. It looked interesting, and you know, I'm always about picking up weird games that I've never heard of. And this kind of reminds me of like a Monster Hunter game just by looking at the back and the front. And so I'm going to have to figure out if that's what this is, but it definitely looks like a ton of fun. So stopping here and getting 4 games is a great way to support the local community at a local game store. But that's not all. We've got 2 more places we've got to go to, which led me to the next spot, which is a used bookstore called Nicholls Used Books. But they sell video games. So when I came in, the first thing I have to do is check the glass cases. And here you can see they have a few PS4 games here and there, as well as a few Switch games down below. But honestly, there weren't any here that I had to have from the glass case or games that I don't already own. They did have a few cartridge-based games, but again, nothing I had to grab. Then I made my way back towards the back where they have more video games. And I ended up finding this Halo 4 figure, which I thought was pretty cool. But then I got to the actual video games section. Here, right off the bat, they have PlayStation 2 games. Then they have a big section of PlayStation 3 games, which is pretty cool. I kind of looked through it a little bit. There was a few games that I saw like here and there that I was like, okay, that's somewhat interesting. But Then I saw Soul Calibur 5, but I actually ended up having this one when I looked it up, so I put it back on the shelf. Then I continued on to the PS4 section where I found Darksiders. I've been thinking about playing this soon, but I don't know. And this Evil Dead game, every time I see it, I think about picking it up, but I never do for whatever reason. And then I saw some PSP games here that caught my eye and distracted me a little bit. Grand Theft Auto Liberty Cities for the PSP, definitely worth picking up there. And then I ended up finding this game for the PlayStation 2, which ended up, no, wait, hold on, not that game. Hold on, give me a second. I gotta get there. No, I'm not gonna get that one either. Okay, and there we have it. Minecraft for the PS4. I don't actually have this one either, so I ended up grabbing that as well. Then down below on the shelf below that were some Xbox 360 games, but sadly all of these games I already have in my collection, so same with the Xbox One games. If I'm interested in them at all, I would have grabbed them, but there wasn't anything that I didn't have. This Elden Ring for the series caught my eye. That's actually not a bad price, but I don't have any desire to play that at all, so I left that behind. I checked out Guitar Hero Aerosmith for the Wii here. Decent price, actually. These prices here at this bookstore are awesome. Definitely well worth it, but I already have these games, so I put them back on the shelf and pretty much checked out just their pricing at this point. But ultimately, I did end up grabbing 2 games, and that being Minecraft for the PS4 and Grand Theft Auto Liberty Cities for the PSP. Now, for Minecraft for the PS4, they wanted $14, which was definitely a good deal. And I don't have this for my PS4 collection, so I figured I would grab this. And then when I saw this Liberty Cities for the PSP, I knew I had to have it. They had just put this out like an hour before I got there, and I ended up getting this for $22, which is definitely well worth it. I love going to local places that are local mom and pop stores and buying games from them and supporting them. And these prices were absolutely awesome. So I figured I'd pick these games up and support them as well. But we've got one more place I've never actually been to before, and that is this place called Yester Play Collectibles. This had recently opened like 2 months ago, but this place had a ton of awesome stuff. First off, I had to check out the Xbox 360 section, and I found Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock. And then I saw the orange box, which if I didn't have this on the Xbox 360 for that price, I definitely would have picked it up. Then I continued on back to the PS1 section where they had a big section of games, and I ended up finding something I've been looking for a while, and that is NHL Rock the Rink. This is a game I played as a kid, and I absolutely loved it, and I haven't been able to find it since, so I'm definitely glad I found it. Then I made my way to the Xbox One section, which honestly, I don't really need any games for, so I continued on to the back wall where they had a bunch of PlayStation 2 games. I checked it out a little bit, but nothing was there for me either. Then I made my way to the Wii and GameCube section here. First off, I found Mario Party 8 for a really good price, as well as Super Mario Bros. These deals are good for these prices. Then I ended up grabbing Super Mario Galaxy 2 here. I did pick this up because this is a really good copy. And then I made my way to the GameCube section, and then down below that was the smallest Wii U section possible, but I ended up getting Wave Race Blue Storm for 20 bucks for the GameCube. Definitely well worth it. Then I made my way back to the very back where they had PlayStation 3 games, and I looked through a little bit, and I did end up spotting a Guitar Hero Van Halen, but I just picked this up for the Xbox 360, so I don't necessarily need it for the PS3, so I put it back and made my way to the glass case and where they had all the crazy games. They even had a boxed Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64 down here, which was totally awesome. But I just checked out this glass case for a while, and I ended up actually finding some really good deals that were worth picking up. First off, I ended up grabbing a Splatterhouse for the Xbox 360 for 40 bucks, and then I ended up grabbing this Guitar Hero dual pack, and behind the counter, I even spotted a bunch of games and stuff. And if you knew from earlier in this video, I really like Detective Pikachu, and there was a plush of him just kind of hiding back in the back. But I've already got that one, so I left it behind. But the Oklahoma Gaming Frenzy is in the area as well. So I saw that and I knew I had to show it off. If you're in the area, you got to go check that out soon. But then I made my way to this glass case, which had Super Nintendo games, NES games, it had Nintendo 64 games, and a bunch of other stuff. But honestly, that's all I ended up seeing there. But I did, as you can tell, end up picking up quite a bit of games. So let's go ahead and pull those out of the bag and talk about everything I grabbed. First off, I did tell you I picked up NHL Rock the Rink, and only $9 for this game was definitely awesome. It is complete in the box. And when I tell you, I cannot wait to play this. After I'm done recording, this is going into my PlayStation 2, and we're going to give that a whirl. And then, I know I said I wasn't going to pick it up, but I looked up the price, and I thought I might as well. Guitar Hero Van Halen for 16 bucks is a pretty good deal, complete in box. I saw this and I figured, why not? I'm already here. Then you saw me get Wave Race Blue Storm for the GameCube for only 20 bucks. I think this is definitely right there on the price. And then I ended up getting a better copy than the copy I have of Super Mario Galaxy 2 for only 20 bucks. I saw this and I was like, okay, I'm picking that up. Definitely well worth grabbing. And then we had those games from the glass case, starting off with the Wii Guitar Hero 3, Guitar Hero Aerosmith dual pack for $30. This is definitely a good deal. This is probably a $40 game at least. So when I saw this, I had to grab it. And then for the Xbox 360, I ended up grabbing Splatterhouse. This game is in good condition and definitely worth it. Now, it does need a case swap, but that's okay. And last but not least, I ended up grabbing Warriors of Rock for the Guitar Hero for the Xbox 360 as well for 25 bucks, which is again another great deal. So I think this stop might be a place I have to go to more often because they had some really good prices. But the whole sake of this video was to go into my local community where they sold mom and pop shops, sold video games, and I ended up finding a ton of games here. As you can tell, I ended up with a bunch of stuff, and I love supporting these places because if you don't support them, they will go out of business. But I also think if they're out there doing hard work and have good prices, you might as well support them. I would rather support a local game store instead of like GameStop or Vintage Stock or something like that. So these deals were absolutely insane, but comment down below and let me know what you thought was my best deal from this whole video. But I've got some games to test and spend way too much time playing this. So I'm going to get out of here. So check that video out if you haven't already. But if you've got game stores in your area, make sure you check them out. Make sure you support them. Support the local community as much as you can. And you'll be really glad you did. But I'm getting out of here. So check out that video out if you haven't already.